Are we live? We live? Okay, let's go. Okay, I'm just kidding. What's up, everybody? This is the V-TamerdotEXE, and today I got you this Nekroz profile video that I've been using on Master Duel to not hit platinum, or not just hit platinum, but also rank up in platinum. It's a very strong deck. It's super sick at what it does. But before I actually go down with this breakdown, I want to go ahead and thank everyone who has subscribed to this channel, all the Digimon players, all the Yu-Gi-Oh players, and anyone else who has been watching. I hit 100 subscribers recently. It's not a big deal to a lot of people. It might not be a lot of subscribers in general, but it's a lot for me, and I appreciate every single one of you. So thanks again for subscribing and liking the videos. If you like this content, obviously keep liking and subscribing, and you know the rest of the deal. Anyway, thanks again. Now let's get in with this deck list. So you guys can see it all here. This is what I'm playing, and you know, if this is what you wanted, cool. And if you guys wanted the breakdown, keep watching. So we're playing triple maxi, 1 egg, triple diviner, 2 shirts, 1 ash blossom, 3 ecclesia, 2 ash blossom, 3 ecclesia, 2 gamma seal, and then Flordelis and Maximus. And I'm not sure why they squeeze the kaijus in right here. I don't know. I wish I could filter it or sort them differently. But anyway, double Colossus, triple Unicorn, 1 Benten, triple Brianak, 1 Valk, 1 White Knight of Dogmatika, 1 Trish, and 1 Arid Bear, 1 Reinforcement, 1 Prep, 1 Nadir, 1 Ritual Sanctuary, 1 Nekroz Mirror, 2 Kaleidos, 1 Cycle, 1 Dogmatic Calamity, double Evenly Matched, and Dogmatika Punishment. So for extra deck, triple Entis, 1 Skull Knight, 1 Titaniclad, 1 Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. You have to play this card. You have no other option to play this card. This card is just a rare. It's really cheap. It's really good. You have to play it. You don't have to play it, but I recommend you play it because nothing's sicker than when you summon using this guy. Anyway, triple Arclight, 1 Omega, 1 Toad, 1 Exciton Knight, 1 Dagaris, 1 Almirage, and then 1 Luster Soldier of Chaos. So let's do the breakdown. Maxi's really good in this game. I don't really gotta explain that. You know why this card's sick. But specifically, when you play Maxi, when you're using this deck, try not to use Maxi until they actually play a card that special summons it, because you're playing a ritual deck and you need a lot of pieces to make this deck really potent. So sometimes people just Maxi the first card your opponent plays, and you don't want to do that. Wait until they play a card, read the text quickly, and see if there's any point of that text that says special summon a monster. Then you pitch your Maxi. And well, it won't matter anyway because they're going to call by the Graveview. But at least you played the card correctly, and do so because you need to always constantly replace your hand. Maxi is very strong. There's nothing else to say about that. We're playing triple diviner and the egg. The egg package essentially allows you to special summon the Arclight as your 5th summon and stop Nibiru from essentially, you know, ruining your board. So that's why you play it. And the cool thing about Arclight in a ritual deck is that if you do trigger it and you negate something, you're able to replace it with another ritual spell from your deck. So this package is kind of cool. And if you don't know how it works, right, you summon Diviner. And I'm assuming everyone knows what most of these effects do, but I'm gonna explain the combo. You summon Diviner. Diviner will pitch a Herald. Diviner then becomes a level 6. And then Herald will search out a ritual monster, in this case Brianak. Then Brianak will pitch itself to add Colossus, and then Colossus will pitch itself to add Cycle. Now, obviously, Brianak can add any Nekroz monster, Colossus can add any Nekroz spell, so you're adding Cycle. And then you will activate the Cycle by tributing the now level 6 Herald to bring back the Brianak that you just pitched. Then Brianak's on board, and then this card was tributed, so now you can special summon a level 2 fairy from the deck, and you're getting the egg. And the egg lets you add Ritual Sanctuary. This field spell card is actually pretty good. Like, it's not broken, but it's kind of nice for what it does, especially in a ritual based deck. because the first effect is you can discard a card to add any ritual. You discard a spell card to add any ritual spell or light ritual monster. And the second effect is you could return any number of spells from your graveyard to the deck to special summon a level 2 or a light fairy monster whose level equals to the number of spells returned. So ideally you want to have 2 cards in your discard or 2 spells to bring back the diviner that you tributed to special summon this card, and then you bring back diviner, and because diviner's level 2 again and you have an egg on board that's level 4, she's a tuner, you synchro summon this card. This will be your 5th summon, and this essentially, again, this isn't a Biru proof, so this is why you play it. This is kind of cool. And Herald of Arclight on board, right? Everyone uses it for diviner to pitch it, but this onboard effect is actually really strong against a lot of the top decks, and that is, you know, it's an Omni Negate, but it's a continuous effect. States that if your opponent sends all monsters sent from the hand or deck to the graveyard are banished. So it stops Phantom Knights, it stops a lot of other good stuff. So it's a pretty good card. But is it worth running? I think so. I like it. You know, sometimes I debate on cutting this card and playing the Deskbot to go into the Mecha Phantom Beast combo, but I kind of like this right now. So, and it helps a lot. So I'm keeping it. Playing double shirt. A lot of people don't like 2 shirts because they think it's breaky, and it kind of makes sense in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! But the reason why I like it is because you're playing this sort of grind game where you're constantly building advantage, and sure, it lets you do that. Because Nekroz is good because of Unicore, right? Or Nekroz is relevant because of Unicore, and because Unicore stops all your opponent's extra deck, or Unicore stops all monsters summoned from the extra deck and negates them. So this is, you know, Unicore is really hard to deal with for a lot of decks. So your whole goal is to slap Unicore and then you just sit on it until you win. But Unicore itself isn't going to win you the game because every deck right now is pretty OP. So what makes Nekroz, what makes Nekroz relevant is a Unicore, but what makes it busted is the Brionac, the Valk, the Trish, and the Arid Bear. Now, these cards are the ones that really are like the power hitters, right? And the only way you consistently summon them is with the Shuret. So, and the Shuret tributing itself, being able to search, you know, the Trish, this, or the Brio is also really strong. So I always want to see the Shuret. And that's why I play too. Some people don't like to play these cards, but I feel like if you're not playing these cards, I don't think you should be playing Nekroz, because you're just playing a weaker version of like every other deck that can use the Dogmatika engine or the Diviner. Like, what makes this deck good are these guys. But anyway, I play 2. You can cut it to 1, arguably, because you can search it out through a lot of ways, but I do definitely like to see it early. Double Ash. The Ash is just good. You already know what it does, so I won't do a breakdown on it. But make sure you Ash the right card. It matters a lot in the Drytron match. So specifically, if you're going second and you don't want them to summon, like, you know, the big fairy, you have to Ash the card against Drytron. You have to Ash the card that is going to stop the piece that they're missing. So if they have Benten, right, and they can search Diviner, then you want to stop. If they potentially don't have the ritual spell, then you want to stop the card that's going to search the ritual spell. If they don't have the Benten, you want to stop the card that searches the Benten. You only can stop one, so you have to sort of figure out which card they already have in hand, and then negate the one that they don't have. Because if you can negate the Benten, or the Benten coming out, or the ritual spell, then you have a good chance of winning that game. But it doesn't matter, because you're going to get called by the grave anyway. So, but at least you're playing the card correctly. Triple Ecclesia. Ecclesia lets you get out Fleur-de-Lis and Maximus. Fleur-de-Lis is always good, just because you can negate something on board. And Maximus is essentially the playmaker of the deck. This card generates insane advantage. You know, you can send, you know, if you don't know what it does, you can send 2 cards from the extra deck to the graveyard. And essentially, you're sending Heralds, Entis, Toad, Omega, Titaniclad, Fossil Warrior. You can send anything. And, you're generating insane advantage. And while your opponent sends cards from the extra deck to the graveyard, a lot of times, you know, they can send like an Entis, or they can send their own Herald. And while that's, you know, not the best, it's still worth doing this play, because you gain so much advantage that it doesn't matter if they even pop this card afterwards. So you definitely want to abuse it. Essentially, like consider bumping them to 2, because in real life you have 2 Nadir Servant. So in real life you can always bring back the Maximus, but here in Master Duel, once Maximus is gone and you don't have a Nadir Servant, then you kind of lose the advantage you get with this card. But very strong. And then Fleur de Lis negates something on board. Super good, right? You know, sometimes they're able to find a way to out the Unicorn, and if they do, or if they negate it, you always have a Fleur de Lis to sit on to negate one of their face-up monsters. 2 Gamma Seals. I don't like dealing with that fairy monster, the Herald of Perfection, and any other dumb monster that has some stupid effect. So you're tributing it off with the turtle, and turtle just says no, like, you know, your monster's not relevant right now. I'm playing the turtle, but turtle's also relevant because in Sky Strikers, right? A lot of their spell cards can only be triggered or activated if they have no monster in their main deck or the main zone, right? And that's the extra deck zone. So if you kaiju off their link monster and you summon the kaiju, a lot of the spell cards that Sky Striker has are they can no longer activate it. So that's why you play this. You know, tribute the fairy, tribute a lot of other stuff, and you can bring it back with Toad, right? If you are able to send Toad off with like the Maximus or, you know, the Nadir, then you can bring back the Gamma Seal and essentially stop your opponent from being able to continually put in or sit on this big boss monster. Double Claws for consistency, add any ritual spell. Unicorn is really good for its onboard effect, but it's also really strong for its in-hand effect, which is you can discard it to add back any Nekroz card. The main function is this, is like sometimes some of your cards get negated, right? Like your Clausulus gets negated and you needed a ritual spell from the deck, but you also have the ritual spell in your discard, like let's say Kaleido. So you can pitch Unicorn to get back Kaleido or Cycle or Shurit or whatever you want to continually extend plays. So it's like, it's obviously the best card in the deck, and it has a lot of utility, but that's that. Ben 10, you want to tribute it to get Diviner. You can tribute it mainly by using Cycle in case you tribute Brainiac, or if you have like Ben 10 and a level 4 monster, you can tribute both to summon Arid Bear, it's a level 10, and you can search the Diviner to extend your plays. In real life, I do play this card at 1 because you only have 1. I don't need to play 3 in this build because it's not like Drytron where every other card tributes. You only can really tribute this with Valkyries and Cycle, but you have so many ways to search them. So, and obviously the mirror. So I play 1 because I do want to see this card. See, Brainiac, triple, you play 3 of them, consistency. Valkyries, you need him for consistency, and he not only does he allow you to draw more cards, he stops the battle phase, and that's really relevant to protect Unicorn because Unicorn is very weak at 2300. So a lot of times your opponent has to attack over this card, and Valkyries prevents that from happening. 1 Dogmatika, or 1 White Knight Dogmatika. This card's really good if you can get it off. It's harder to do so with 1 Nadir Servant, but you know, being able to pitch Titaniclad and get him out, and then this card can search out, you know, Ecclesia and then get Fleur de Lis or Maximus is just really strong. But the most important thing about this card is its onboard effect, which is once per turn when your opponent activates an effect, you can, you know, send 1 card from your extra deck to the graveyard and then look at their extra deck and then send 1 card from their extra deck to the graveyard. And that's really good because you can actually strip the card that is most critical for other players to do, you know, their whatever plays they want to make. So you can send True King of all Calamities, you can send the Sky Striker Kagari, you can send anyone, and normally you want to send the most lethal card that will be most threatening to your board. And so many times, right, when I'm playing against a lot of decks, like if I don't know what to send but I see an Axis Code Talker in there, I'm just stripping that right away because that card a lot of times is really nutty and it just sometimes OTKs you out of nowhere. So you play this card to strip them from their best extra deck card, and then you send a card to yourself. So you can send a Herald of Arclight, search a ritual spell, or send Entis to destroy a card on board. It's really good, but you know, it's harder to summon, but when you do summon it, you get a lot of value from it. And obviously it's a Dogmatika card, so it lets you summon Fleur de Lis and negate a monster on board. 1 Trish is busted, banish 3 cards effectively. one from field, hand, and graveyard. Definitely play this card. It lets you out a lot of cards, especially cards that cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects. So this is a lot of times your win condition against Eldritch, because you banish Golden Lords, and that's just good. Like, you banish Golden Lords, you can banish Sky Strikers without, because you're not proccing any destruction. You're not activating any effect that destroys or gets an active or that activates when it's destroyed. So you can banish like the Ray and the Sky Striker, Link monster. Again, you banish Golden Lords. You just banish a lot of cards. The card's insane, and you keep abusing it with Shuret to continually keep advantage and tempo into your opponent's scoops. One Arid Bear. This card's also really good. It's just any monster negate. If you summon this card early, they can't even like Ash you or Maxi or whatever, or they have to Maxi on the ritual summon to this card. But he's just so good. He's so good, and he's at 3,300 attack, 3,200 defense. Sometimes you can just summon this card in defense so that you don't get Lightning Storm, because I keep getting Lightning Stormed a lot for some reason in this game. But yeah, he's really good. And what else? Anything? And the in-hand effect, I'm not gonna even talk about it because it doesn't come up that often. But this effect to discard itself and another Nekroz monster sometimes comes up, mainly if you have Preparation of Right, which is obviously you can discard this card, tribute up to 2 Nekroz monsters to ditch that many from your deck to the graveyard. It's a -1, so that's why we're not going to really talk about it. 1 Rhoda to search out Shuret and Clausulus for consistency. Triple prep, one of the best, or the best spell card in the deck. 1 Nadir Servant, the second best spell card in the deck. Search out your Dogmatika pieces. And obviously it's cool in this deck because Nadir Servant can send the Herald to search out the White Knight Dogmatika. And then because Nadir Servant lets you add a monster or Dogmatika monster that has attack less than or equal to the sent monster. Herald is 600 attack, so you can search out the White Knight. And then because you pitch Herald, you can add a spell card, or you could add his own spell card, or you can add any other ritual spell card on board. So the Nadir Servant lets you a lot of times summon Unicorn and then this card right after, and it's just insane if you can do that. Ritual Sanctuary, we already went over this. 1 Mirror. Mirror lets you summon these big hitters from your hand. This is why you play it. Banish Shuret, banish everything else. It's just lets you, again, you want to summon these guys a lot. 1 Kaleido. Kaleido is really good with the Brionac. It's really good with Unicorn. It's actually really good with Valkyries and even these 2 cards, right? Because a general plays, you Kaleido, and you can send 1 card from the extra deck to the graveyard to summon, a monster of the same level. So you Kaleido, pitch Herald, summon Unicorn. Nice. But you can also, if you have Valkyries in hand, you could Kaleido, send Ultimate Dragon, and bring out Unicorn and Valkyries. And that's really strong because if you have any of these tribute cards like Shuret, Benten, or Diviner, you can Valkyries tribute 2, draw 2, and then search off of these cards, and you just generate a lot of advantage. But in order to do that, you gotta play the Ultimate Dragon, because it's Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. Why would you not play this card? Anyway, Kaleido is really strong. As long as you could summon multiple ritual monsters, as long as the total levels equal to the monster that was sent. So if you send Ultimate Dragon, you can summon like Clausulus and Trishula, because that's level 12. Or you can summon Valk and Unicorn, because that's level 12. You can summon 2 Brionac, because that's level 12. Or that totals to level 12. So lots of cool things you can do with this card. That's why this is the only ritual spell you play at 2. 1 Cycle, obviously because you abuse it with Shuret to continually bring back these big hitters. And then 1 Dogma Calamity for the White Knight. Double evenly matched for Sky Strikers and Eldritch, because you see them a lot in Platinum. And then 1 Dogmatika Punishment. This is a card that I kind of want to cut, and I want to cut it for Vanity's Emptiness, because I feel like Vanity's Emptiness is just way stronger. But this card's searchable, and obviously being able to destroy 2 cards on board does come up every now and then, so I definitely keep it. But yeah, and that totals to 45. So 45 is a bit high, maybe not for Nekroz because they search a lot, but the cool thing about having 45 is that you don't open with the egg a lot, because if you play a 40 card deck and you play this egg, you're going to see this egg a lot in your opening hand. That's just how statistics work. It's a numbers game. Don't argue. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's just yeah, it's it's okay to play a high number because in Master Duel there's no siding, so you gotta main stuff like the Gamma Seal and like evenly match so that you don't auto lose to some decks. And if against Outlich, if you open evenly match, it's just insane, right? Because if they don't negate this card, you banish their whole board, and they have one card left. Then you trish that last card, and you just sort of win on your following turn. There's very little that they can do against an evenly match. Entis is good. Also, Skull Knight is kind of like your fourth Entis, and you can send this card using Kaleido to summon Brionac, and Brionac can go ahead and return back 2 extra deck monsters, and then he can pop like another card. So that's pretty sick. Titaniclad is good if you already know what Dogmatikas do. Ultimate Dragon, we kind of went over this. You need 3 Blue Eyes White Dragons to summon this card, but in this deck, you don't need the Blue Eyes White Dragons. You could actually, I'm just kidding. Arclight, main extra deck card. Omega, pretty good because a lot of times you're gonna kind of burn through these Arclights very quickly, and so you need to find a way to recycle them. Omega lets you send it back from the graveyard to obviously to the extra deck, and you could send it again using the Maximus or like the Herald or whatever. But the sickest thing about this card in this game is that he has his own summoning animation, and I didn't know that. It looks hella sick. So, and you can summon it with the Diviner and like the Brionac, and that sometimes comes up. But it was tight. It's tight to have a summoning animation. Totally awesome. You never summon it, but you pitch it with Maximus, and you can get back any water monster. So that's any Nekroz card. You can even bring back Gamma Seal, so that's kind of cool. Exciton Knight, he's like the Boomer's version of Zeus, Sky Thunder. This card is actually pretty good, but I don't think I summon him as much anymore because I don't play the Manjus, and I think I needed him with Manjus because you could just summon Manju, summon Unicorn, and X-Rays into this card and then board wipe. But when we summon Ecclesia, which is your current level 4 monster, you can't summon from the extra deck, so I might cut this card. Same thing with Jagaris. Rank 4s is something I don't do as much anymore, and so yeah, probably cut him. One Amaraj. Amaraj is mainly here, so when you have the Diviner and the Ecclesia on board in hand, if you summon Diviner and they ash it, and you don't get to send anything, you just have Diviner sitting there. So you make Diviner, turn it into Amaraj, and then now you have an extra deck monster. So you can special summon Ecclesia, and then summon Maximus and wait, you can't summon Maximus in this build. Summon get Ecclesia. Ecclesia can add any Dogmatika card, right? If they max see you can get punishment, but if they didn't, then you can get Maximus. But you can't summon Maximus because okay, I see what I did wrong here. Normally you go Amaraj and then you'll link off Amaraj to get what's his name, Gardner, this card. I don't know why I'm not playing it, so I need to generate it. Improv video, let me fix real quick. In fact, I'm gonna take out Jagaris because I already told you I don't use this guy a lot, and you should be playing this card. There we go, fixed. So I do this in real life. I can't believe I didn't do this in this game. But okay, so Ecclesia, so Diviner gets Ash, so you can't say anything. So Diviner turns to Amaraj, who then in turn turns into Gardner. Now that Amaraj is in the graveyard, your Ecclesia can search out Maximus, and then you can special the Maximus, and then you could pitch everything else to continue your play. So you play the Gardner, and then Amaraj, and then Super Soldier. This card's really good against Sky Strikers and against and against Eldritch. They have very few cards that can out it, and when you bring them out, you need to trigger this first effect, which is gain 1500 attack, because when this card's at 4500, the only card that can out it for like Sky Strikers, for the most part, is Axis Cold Talker. But if you can strip Axis Cold Talker using White Knight Dogmatika or Maximus, then they don't have many cards that can out this dude. And the cool thing about it is like you can special to make sure they can't pop this, or they can't stop the summon of this card. You summon Gamma Seal on their board against Sky Strikers, and then you use 3 monsters, one of them being a level 7 or higher, and you can make anyone being level 7 or higher, and then you summon this card, and then this card attacks over the Gamma Seal, and then you get the boost, and then it's really hard for your opponents to out this card. So I do play it, and I summon it every now and then. So it's super sick. But I think I said enough. This is a 24-minute video. That's actually really long. I hope it was helpful. Thanks again for watching. I'm gonna cut it here because this video is already long enough. But if you have any comments, any questions, any things that you would like to see changed, or any sort of other thing that I should talk about, post a comment below and I'll respond to it. Thanks again for watching. You guys are the best. I'll talk to y'all later. Take care. Ciao.